The movie begins on quite a tragic note when Charles Kirito, who is an ace pilot, is chased by a group of bullies who corner him and take some coins from him, which is the only money he has. Charles, who was incredibly talented at flying and the best aerial combat fighter in the kingdom, is looked down upon and becomes the subject of extreme racist discrimination by the regular soldiers of the kingdom. Due to his mixed heritage, due to this lifelong remembrance of him being discriminated against by the kingdom, Charles was eager to prove himself and only desired to fly in the sky as his lifelong passion. As the sun rises while he lies on the ground in despair, watching airplanes and aircraft flying upon him, he admires the sky, and the only wish he had was to be free. On the other hand, Princess Vanna del Moral, who was a beautiful young lady from a noble family and a future princess consort of the state, gets dressed up to meet the prince of the Levam Empire, who is told not to make any mistakes by her father. The royal hall was crowded with people, and gossip started circulating about the two royal families regarding the Levam and the Del Moral family's prosperity, the future after their kids marry each other. As the people ask Prince Carlo about his voyage and traveling experience to San Martelia, while the director of the Eastern Battalion Levam Air Force, Colonel Domingo Garcia, arrives pushing through people, he is cut off in the middle as Princess Vanna arrives in the royal hall, which leaves Carlo and all looking at how beautiful she is. As the princess comes down the stairs, both of them express the pleasure and joy of meeting each other. Prince Carlo, who is in love with the princess, declares his love for Vanna del Moral, and he confesses how much he has longed for this day. Therefore he proposes to her and vows to make her the happiest woman in the world, and the princess gladly accepts the proposal. However, it is revealed to us that the prince discloses Van about the war against Amitsuvians and ensures the princess that he will defeat them within a year, so she has to wait for him until then. As Princess Vanna gets in her room and her caretakers start conversing about how the war against Amituvians is getting worse, although the prince told him he would finish this off in a year, which seemed impossible. The other lady explains that Prince Carlo has not forgot God and his promise, as he sends letters to the princess almost every day. As it was now the princess's bedtime, everyone leaves the room. The princess, who seems a bit troubled, gets off her bed and stands in the window for some fresh air. Suddenly she witnesses some planes attacking and coming towards the castle. In the meantime, the princess gets shocked and thinks it's too late for her to run now. She watches as the bombs start dropping and screams to see if her father is all right, as some people come to her rescue. All the people in the castle start running for their lives as the castle was set on fire because of the bomb attack. It is revealed that Princess Vanna's father, Diego del Moral, dies in the attack, and they hold a funeral for him. When Amatsukami caught wind of this, they planned the assassination of the princess, as the kingdom finds out about the attack, which was from the enemy Yamatsuvans, and they get to know that Latafana is subjected to an assassination conducted by the enemies. However, they are told not to worry, as Princess Carlo has dispatched the 8th Special Operations Fleet from the mainland, which means the war is about to end, and therefore both Prince and the Princess can marry each other, as Charles is fighting against the enemies in an aircraft and almost gives his life. He gets on with his life and survives. However, he gets terrified after that incident, and after some gets called to the headquarters immediately, as Charles was of mixed heritage. His father was from Kingdom Levam, and his mother was from Amituvians, which was the enemy state. Surprisingly, he was assigned to a very mission by the Santelia Air Forces to move a person to the mainland in the back seat of an aquatic reconnaissance plane without a guard, which was Princess Vanna. He was assigned to a secret escort mission to protect the princess as her mansion gets bombed by Amituvians. The pilot Charles informs him that the 3 stops to refuel will be necessary as the distance to the mainland was too long, which means that he will be spending 3 nights at rest on the ocean. He tells him that the only risk is crossing the Great Falls, as it is the enemy's line. Charles is informed by the Levam Kingdom that he will be using the latest reconnaissance seaplane, the Santa Cruz, which is a machine with specifications that surpass a normal plane, as they had to fly over 12,000 kilometers of enemy waters. It was slower than hidden, but still the fastest plane out there. Charles was told that he will be flying Princess Vanna and taking her to the mainland, where Prince Carlin was warned to succeed in this mission at all costs. It was almost the time of the mission, and Charles was notified not to engage in any kind of conversation with the princess. Meanwhile, all the other pilots were getting ready to take off, as they were all being used as a decoy for Princess Vanna's safety. Princess Vanna settles in the plane, and the plane takes off with everyone sending off their good wishes to the princess. Charles asks the princess if she can be a rear lookout. As Vanna was trained, she agrees to assist him. The princess, despite her beauty, was a polite and compassionate lady, and unlike many other, she despised racism and expressed respect and acceptance to. After some time, the sun started to set, which means the plane needed refueling. Therefore, Charles took off the plane into the ocean, as the plane needed sea water to recharge. He asked Princess Vanna to throw out all the extra stuff and suitcases as it was weighing the plane down, and because of that the plane will not speed up, as soon as the princess opens up the suitcase the other one slips down into the water, and when she reaches her hand to grab it, Fana falls into the water. As Charles's mission was to protect her, he instantly jumps into the water and saves the princess. Soon after they find their way up from the water, Charles notices planes moving in their direction. He instructs the princess to hurry and ride back and so they can hide somewhere. The princess had to leave all her suitcases in a haste and get back on the plane. After a while they find a spot behind a big rock and decide to spend the night there. Princess Fana starts feeling cold as she had no warm clothes on her and all her stuff had drowned. Charles provides her with a big blanket which she wraps around herself while her clothes are parched up. Charles sleeps in a cockpit while the princess sleeps in a boat. As they lay down, the princess cherishes the beautiful stars upon her and hums a song that Charles seems to be familiar with. The next morning they were ready to take off. As they started flying, Princess Fan has spotted an enemy plane that seemed to be going in another direction. After traveling another day of their journey successfully, they stop at the ocean to rest for him again. Shortly after, Charles once again spotted an enemy ship, but it looked like they were in search of something. After having doubts from the start of the mission, Charles eventually learns that both original operation and the confidential operation have been figured out by the enemy decoding the military telegraph sent by the Crown Prince to Princess Fana. Fana seems concerned and asks Charles if their mission is leaked or if their code is decoded, which they sent through a telegraph. The princess then tells him that the prince has sent her a letter in which the mission was written through a military telegraph. Charles gets angry about it because all of his friends used as decoys. He gets himself together and thinks about it thoroughly. Maybe the mission has not leaked, and they still have a chance to survive if they both work together. The next day they had to cross the Great Falls, which was the enemy line, and it was now more dangerous since there was a possibility their mission had been leaked as they were gliding in the plane. Princess Fana notices that suddenly the clouds turn black and Charles immediately realizes that the enemies were waiting for them. Both managed to survive the violent attack from the enemies, but Charles was gravely and barely able to stay awake. Yet he manages to pass the Great Fall and land the plane in a safe place. In this period, Charles and Fana become emotionally attached as they had come a long way from hiding, surviving, and defeating the enemies enduring the hardships. Together, in the meantime, Princess Fana helps him out and treats his wounds. When Charles finally wakes up and looks up to Princess Fana with her hair cut short, he shockingly asks about it, to which the princess answers that she chopped off her hair as if it was bothering her. Later they both repaired the plane as it got damaged during the attack and have a nice meal together. During that time they both explore the island they landed on, and Fana whimpers the song again. While watching the sunset, right then the backstory is revealed when she tells Charles that someone who took care of her used to sing this song for her when she used to get scared, to which Charles confesses to her that his mother used to sing him this song to bed. Fana finally finds out that the lady who took care of her was Charles's mother, Chase. Chase was kicked out after Fana's father, Diego, found out that she is secretly taking care of her. Charles reveals that his mother passed away not so long ago after being kicked out of the mansion. While traveling, Princess Fana tells Charles that she doesn't want to go to the capital and that all she wants is to fly through the sky. Fana insists that Charles take her with him, but he refuses and could not do that as the prince's orders was to make her reach safely to the mainland. As she hears this, the princess gets mad, drinking the whole bottle of wine and getting drunk, while Charles tries to stop her. While she gets drunk, the princess and the pilots start dancing. As Charles keeps on refusing Fana, she says she will teach him a lesson, and unexpectedly they both fall and the princess cries to sleep as Charles comforts her. The next morning they get ready to flee when Princess Fana apologizes about last night. They were now on their last flight to their final destination. However, Charles knew deep down that the danger is not over yet and that they have to keep their guards up. While Princess Fana asks Charles to teach her how to shoot a gun, Charles obliges, and while doing that, Charles detects an enemy aircraft getting towards them. As he was extremely talented in aerial combat, he cleverly dodges the enemies and saves themselves, once again succeeding in protecting the princess. Later, just when they thought they escaped, they saw another plane coming in their direction, and the pilot of that plane was going to have a one-on-one fight with Charles, as it was an Amatsubian tradition. Therefore they do whatever they can to escape, and just when the pilot thought he had won, Princess Anna shoots the enemy aircraft, and they successfully escape the enemy. Soon after that, Charles safely delivered the princess to the destination as he was told by the air forces, but the princess didn't seem happy. She wanted to go with Charles to explore the world flying. The princess insists that Charles go with her to the capital, but he notifies her that it's not allowed. Just as they were arguing, a ship arrives to take Princess Fana. They point a gun at Charles and instruct them to stay away from her. They also smash him in the face to let him know his place. Princess Phantom pleads for them to stop, but she is taken by the guards as the mission is completed. One of the crownsmen throws his prize, which was a bag full of gold. Princess Vanna keeps on crying out Charles's name and gets angry and stomps into the room where she questions the superior and asks him if this is a way to treat a person who risks this life to keep her safe. Charles, on the other hand, for the first time decides to listen to his heart and do what he wants to do. Just as the princess was scolding the officer, she catches a glimpse of Santa Cruz gliding in the sky and asks the officer to say her goodbye to Charles. They both bid each other a proper farewell, and the pilot Charles Kirito dropped the bag full of gold into the air, making it rain gold, and emancipated into the sky, doing what he loves, flying. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe us for more like this. Until next time.
君の虜になって